Hi everyone, and welcome to a Kuta software worksheet tutorial. This is coordinate geometry in the Centroid. This is kind of a complex topic. This is referring to medians. So the point of concurrency, that means where lines meet, where three medians meet in a triangle, is called the centroid. Now, it involves a lot of equation finding, so I'm going to go ahead and break down how you go and find the centroid of these triangles. We're going to start with number one. I've already had these lines pre-drawn. If I wanted to draw a third one, you could, but you don't need to do a third one. Wherever two are going to meet, the third one's also going to meet, so I'm just going to worry about two here. And I chose this one right here because I know that's the point 0, 0, and that's an easier point to work with. And then I have to find this midpoint of XY. So let me change my color here. Okay, it's not working. There we go. Okay, so I changed my color, and I know I need to find that midpoint, which is, I'll make this color, of this side. All right, so I'll need to find that midpoint because a median is a line that connects the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side, midpoint of opposite side. And go ahead and check out my notes on 5.4 if you guys want to hear more about the midpoint. So here we have our first line. We made it in blue, but we made the midpoint in green. And then I'm going to change this color actually to purple just so we can see it a little bit more clearly that we have two different lines going on here. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so there's our second line. And notice how I go from a vertex, this vertex right here, and then I'll make this one orange to the midpoint of this side. This midpoint's easier to see because we see it's right on the x-axis, and it goes from -6, okay, to 0, so it's halfway in between is 3. 3 and 3 on both sides. So I know this midpoint, that's -3, 0, and I know this point is 0, 3. So that line's going to be pretty easy to find in terms of the equation, but I still have to find the midpoint here. Now, let's say you didn't know how to find -3, 0, and you want to find the midpoint. Okay, the midpoint is according to this formula. We're going to have x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So I'm going to zoom in on that. So we have to label our 2 points of that line. So I highlighted that whole line in green. We have to label these 2 points. Those 2 points, I'll make both purple. We have -6, 0, and then 0, 3. What I need to do now is choose which one's x1, y1, and which one's x2. It doesn't really matter which one you call x1, y1, as long as you keep the x1 and y1 together. Now this last part is my midpoints. I'm going to change this to purple. Okay. Should I change that to purple? I really should change it to blue, shouldn't I? But yeah, I'll change it to blue. So I'm going to change this to blue, just so you can see we're doing this new thing. All right, so my new point is going to be, okay, in purple, I had my x1 and y1, that's -6 plus 0 over 2. And then my y1 was 0 plus 3 over 2. And then this is my new blue point. That gives me the point -6 plus 0 is -6 divided by 2 is -3. And then 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Okay, so I have a decimal or a fraction here. I could have left it at 3 over 2 if I wanted to. But I have a midpoint for that side of the line. Okay, now, what's cool about this? Well, now I can form the equation of this line. Both of these lines, both the blue, okay, both this line and the purple line, and then find where they intersect. Okay, so step one, let me break this down into steps for you guys so we know like the grand plan. Step one is find midpoints, and we just did that. Okay, we found the midpoints and the vertices. Find midpoints and then say and vertices. Okay, step two, determine equation of lines. Equation of lines. So we have to find the equation of both the purple and the blue. So here we have, we'll call this line 1. No, we'll call it median 1. Yeah, how about that? Median. Median number 1. Okay, and we'll come up with that equation. And then median number 2. Now, I personally think that, oops, I should change this to blue. I personally think that point slope form is way easier. So I'll show you one in point slope and one in slope intercept form, but it's going to be like the same thing, okay? All right, let's start with purple. This one looks a little easier. We have 2 points here. We have 0, 3 and -3, 0. What we need is, we're going to use slope intercept form for this first one. We need a slope and a y-intercept, okay? This one's actually fairly simple just because we already know the y-intercept. So we get y, oh, I'm sorry. We know that our y-intercept, okay, normally this doesn't happen. We know our y-intercept is this right here, 0, 3. So I know my b equals 3, okay? And my slope is just my rise over run. So you could either use the slope formula. The slope formula is y2, there's so many formulas, I know, this is probably the tough part about this. Rise over run, okay? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Run, rise with your y's and run from your x. 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I go up 3, that's my rise. Over 3, that's my run. 3 over 3. So m equals 3 over 3, also known as 1. So I have my equation done already. This one actually turned out easier than normal. Usually it's not this easy, but there's my first equation for median number 1. Median number 2, I'm actually going to use slope-intercept form again, just because I already have the y-intercept. I told you I was going to use point slope. I'm going to change my mind. Maybe in another problem I'll do it. But with this one we already have the y-intercept, so it's going to be pretty easy. Or easier, I should say. So we have y equals mx plus b. We need to find our slope, and we need to find our y-intercept. We already know our y-intercept is 0. That makes it a little bit easier. Now our slope's going to be a little bit tricky because we have some fractions. So we go down 1.5 from this point to this point. Okay, so I like moving left to right. I go down 1.5 and then over 2. So this is a little tricky because we have a decimal in there. We really shouldn't have a decimal. I should change this to a fraction and then work with that. So this is 3 over 2. So my rise is, well, I'm going to go down 3 over 2 units. And then that's over, looks like 3, right? 1, 2, 3. So I go down 1.5, and then I go 1, 2, 3 over. So that's over 3. Now, anytime you divide by a number, this is a complex fraction. Anytime you divide by numbers, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we can change this to -3 over 2 times 1/3. Okay, that's equal to, if you're not familiar with canceling, -3 over 6, -1/2. Okay, so now I have my slope, which is -1 over 2. And I'm basically done with this equation too. I plug in y equals -1 over 2, x plus 0, or just like this. So I have my 2 equations here. That's step 2, and the last step is we find, step 3, to find the centroid. Step 3 is you solve the system of equations to find the intersection. Okay. Running out of room here. A lot of these problems are very involved, so, and I'm taking up my space just so it's a little bit easier. We need to solve this system of equations. You can use substitution or elimination, okay? In this case, I would recommend substitution just because we already have the value of 1. I mean, both of these solve for y. So I'm going to take this value of y here, and I'm going to plug it in for that value of y. So here I'm going to write, and I'm going to do that. I might as well just do it right over here. I have 1x plus 3 equals, and then I have -1 over 2x, and that's it. Now, I don't like fractions, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 2 to get rid of that fraction. This is a common practice once you get into Algebra 2. So get used to doing this. Plus 6 equals -1x. Got rid of the fraction, makes it way easier to deal with this. Now, I don't like the x's on being on different sides, so I'm actually going to move the 2x this time. So I move the 2x, and I get 6 equals -3x. I divide by -3 to both sides, and I get -2 equals x. I'm not done. This is just my coordinate for the x value where this line crosses. Okay, so somewhere along this line, on x equals -2, it's going to cross. And you can tell by the graph that it is going to be the case. What do I do with this once I'm done? I can plug it into x into either equation, either here or here, and then solve for y. The left one looks way easier, so I'm going to solve, I'm going to solve for the left one for y. So I have y equals 1 times, I don't really need the 1, I'm just showing you that you can put it there, and then -2, and then I'm going to solve from here. Y equals -2 plus 3, so that equals +1, so that's y equals 1, and x equals -2. That is this point right here. Okay, and that is called my centroid, the intersection of the medians. So that's my centroid right there. The cool thing about centroids is it splits it up. This is just another cool piece of information into a 2/3 segment, and then into an itty bitty 1/3 segment. So that's the yellow is 2/3 of the line, that purple is 1/3 of the line. So that's pretty cool that the centroid does that. I know there's more problems here. Maybe another time, if you guys request it, I'll make another video. But number one, this 3-step process will lead you to the answer. The tough part is coming up with the equations from 2 points. Okay, these 2 points make it a little bit tough. But if you use this slope here, and you can plug in the points, I really wish I could have had enough time for another problem. Request it, and I'll do it. Just leave a comment, and I'll do another video. Just let me know. But in the meantime, be good, be kind, be true, be nice, and be honest to each other.